Hello, my dear grade 8 students. Welcome back to our class. Again, this is your teacher, Miss Cabs. And so, how are you? Yeah, so here we are again for our new exciting episode of our science class in Science 8. And today, I'm glad that you made it to our third quarter. Yay! So, malapit na tayo matapos, guys. Nasa third quarter na tayo ngayon. Week 1. So, last quarter, you learned about Earth and space, right? And for this quarter, you will learn about the particle nature of matter. But of course, before we proceed to our lesson, if you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for more updates in our science class. And for the objectives in this module based on our most essential learning competencies, you are going to explain the properties of solids, liquids, and gases based on the particle nature of matter. Second, you are going to explain physical changes in terms of the arrangement and motion of atoms and molecules. Third, at the end of the module, you are going to determine the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons in a particular atom. And number 4, this is your favorite. Use the periodic table to predict the chemical behavior of an element. So guys, I expect that you already have your periodic table of elements. So in this quarter, you are required to have your periodic table of elements. Here are the key questions for this module. What is matter made of? And how does the particle model of matter explain some observed properties and changes in matter? So this time, we will have our activity. I will let you identify which is matter and non-matter. So, and by the way, let me remind you, don't forget to prepare your ball pen and your paper in order for you to take down notes of all the questions as we go along with our discussion. So remember, use our comment box to write your answers, and if you have some clarifications or questions, you can also put it there. Okay? So here we are. You are going to identify the following if it is matter or non-matter. Okay, so first we have the sugar granules. That is for question number 1. Sugar granules, is it a matter or non-matter? Second, water. Matter or non-matter? 3. The stone or rock. Is it matter or non-matter? Number 4, the air inside the ball. Matter or non-matter? Number 5, leaves. Okay, so is it matter or non-matter? Number 6, smoke. Non-matter or matter? 7, the heat. Okay, matter or non-matter? And number 8, we have light. So you are just going to identify those things or those objects if it is matter or non-matter. For question number 9, what similarities do you observe among the first 5 given samples? So the sugar granules, the water, leaves, the rock, and the air inside the ball. So what similarities do you observe among those objects or among those given samples? So just write their common characteristics. And for question number 10, does each sample have a measurable mass? Number 10, does each sample have a measurable mass? Question number 11, do you think that each sample occupies space? And question number 12, how about the smoke? Does it have mass? Or does it occupy space? Kindly explain also your answer. Okay, and then for question number 13, do you think that heat and light have mass? Again, for question number 13, do you think that heat and light have mass? Do they occupy space? Okay, kindly explain also your answer. I know this time that you already have your answers from our activity number 1. So, I know that you can answer it easily. Na? Question number 1 to 13, right? Yan. So, because all the pictures that I had presented to you are all familiar with you. So, now, based on your observations, you have just described some characteristics of matter. So as you were observing each sample of matter in that activity, you were focusing on particular characteristics. And these characteristics that describe a sample of matter are called properties. What is a properties? Properties is a characteristic or trait that you can use to describe what? To describe matter by observation, measurement, or combination. So that is why I have there a question that can you or does each sample have a mass? Okay, so meaning to say, measurement is one of the characteristic or trait that you can use to describe matter. Okay, so matter can have different properties. You can measure the mass of an object or matter using balance or weighing scale. So, what is a mass? Mass of an object is a measure of the amount of matter the object has. Okay, so if you are going to measure the mass of each sample or of each object of each sample of matter in our activity, you can observe that they have different mass from the other. So you can also find out that each sample of matter will occupy space. Yes, that's true. And the measure and the measure of the space occupied by an object is what you call the volume. Again, what is volume? It is the measure of the space occupied by an object. So, all matter have mass and volume. Take note with that, guys. All matter have mass and volume. And there are other properties of matter such as hardness, texture, color, flexibility, malleability, and electrical conductivity, which vary from one sample to another. So can you recall that on your grade 7, you studied other properties of matter, right? So, sino ba yung grade 7 nyo na teacher? So, if you can't forget na, so if you still remember the topics that you had discussed in your science 7, so maalala nyo yun or marirecall nyo yun. Ano ba? Recall. Yes. You performed activities to find out some common properties of solutions. You investigated how fast sugar and salt dissolve in water. Did you perform that? Yes, I know. You compared the boiling point of a substance of the distilled water with that of a mixture of seawater, right? Okay. So now that you can correctly describe matter based on the properties you have observed, it is important that you know what matter is made of. So, what makes up a matter? Okay. If you are going to hammer a stone into much smaller pieces, what would you get? And if you turn the sugar into a very fine powder, what would the result? So this one is ice, liquid water, the steam. They have the same, or they are all the same substances, which is water, right? Yet you can observe that they look different from each other, right? So how can you explain this? So these questions can be answered in our next activity. So I have here a prepared video. Nag-prepare talaga ako para sa inyo guys. So this is our activity number 2. So what is matter made of? Okay, so tingnan natin yung video na to guys. So meron tayong food color, refined sugar, 60 ml of water. Take note with that, 60 ml of water. So, okay, nakita nyo yon? Okay, so, for question number 14, so, take note guys that the water is 60 ml. No? Hindi pa yun na-mix sa sugar. Before mixing the sugar into the water, so 60 ml pa. Okay? So, for question number 14, what is the volume of the sugar and water mixture? What is the volume of the sugar and water mixture? So this time, now for question number 14, you are going to answer the volume of the sugar and the water mixture. So after nyo na-mix ang sugar and water, so what happened to the volume? Okay, question number 15. Is the volume of the resulting sugar mixture equal, more than, or less than the sum of the previous volumes of the unmixed sugar and water? For question number 15, is the volume of the resulting sugar mixture equal, more than, or less than the sum of the previous volumes of the unmixed sugar and water? Okay? So, yun ang question number 14 and number 15. Okay, let's continue to look at the video. So, try to observe carefully, guys. So, this time, meron naman tayong water at saka gamitin naman natin yung food coloring. Okay, so for question number 16, describe what you observe after adding the food coloring into the water. Question number 17, what happened to or what happens to the food coloring dropped in the glass containing water? Write all your observations. Again, for question number 16, describe what you observe after adding the food coloring. And question number 17, what happens to the food coloring dropped in the glass containing water? Write all your observations. Okay? Okay, next na tayo. Okay, so we're through with our activity number 2. Okay, studying about what matter is made of involves dealing with very small particles beyond what your eyes can see. In fact, the ancient Greek philosophers proposed ideas about what matter was made of. So almost 2,500 years ago, Leucippus and his disciple Democritus believed that nature consisted of two things: atoms and the void that surrounds them. They believe that atoms are physically but not geometrically indivisible. Pag sinabi natin indivisible, guys, cannot be divided. Okay? So, for Democritus, atoms are indestructible and completely full. Okay? So, hindi na na-destroy, no? Indestructible. Okay? So, there is no empty space. That is according to Democritus. Both Leucippus and Democritus had the idea that there are many different kinds of atoms, and each of them had a specific shape and size, and that all atoms move randomly around in space. However, they did not give an explanation for the motion of atoms. So, Democritus believed that any piece of matter can be divided and subdivided into very small particles. But that process ended at some point when a piece is reached that could not be further divided. And he called the particle atomos. Okay? A Greek word which means indivisible particle. So again guys, indivisible, hindi na pwedeng ma-divide. Okay? Democritus' ideas about the about the atom were later challenged by other Greek philosophers, most strongly by Aristotle. The idea of the atom was not further explored until a little over 2 centuries ago when John Dalton presented concrete evidence that all matter is made of very small particles called atoms. And atom is the smallest particle of an element that has all the properties of the element. So that is according to John Dalton. Atom is the smallest particle of an element. Element, guys. Element. Ano ba ang element? Elements are the fundamental materials of which all matter is composed. So today, we know that although atoms are very small, they are not indivisible as Democritus thought. Rather, they consist of still smaller particles. And he was right in one aspect of his belief that that atoms are the smallest particles of which substances are made. When you were in grade 7, you learn about elements. And what is elements? Okay, elements are the fundamental materials of which all matter is composed. Atoms of most elements have the ability to combine with other atoms. Different elements have different properties because the combining atoms are different and the way the atoms are joined together are different. So this is your discussion when you were in grade 7. So, nire-review ko lang kayo, guys. Okay? So, in our module 2 of this quarter, you will learn about how the model of the atom evolved until the present time. And you will also learn that an atom is made of even smaller parts. Now, what is a molecule? Molecule is a particle consisting of two or more atoms combined together in a specific arrangement. It is electrically neutral particle, meaning they have no charge. Okay? Ano ba yung pag sinabi natin charge? No? Positive or negative charge. So take note that molecule is electrically neutral particle. It is the smallest particle of an element or compound that can exist independently. Okay? Example, we have water. Water molecule consists of an oxygen atom combined with 2 hydrogen atoms. So, ito yung magiging itsura ng water molecule natin, guys. So, 1 oxygen atom at tsaka 2 hydrogen atoms. So, take note that an atom can be combined to form an element or compound. Another one is that atoms of the same element can also combine to form a molecule. So, just like for example, oxygen in the air consist of oxygen molecules which are made up of 2 oxygen atoms. Okay? So take note with that. Atoms are too small to observe. These particles cannot be seen under the high-powered light microscopes used in school laboratories. Yung mga microscope na nasa school natin, guys. So we cannot use that just to see particles because the size of an atom is measured in angstrom. 1 angstrom is a unit of length equal to 1/10 millionth of a millimeter. So, yung light microscope natin na ginagamit natin sa school can only magnify an image only about 1,500 times. So, take note with this, guys, that a particle no, can be measured by angstrom. And angstrom is equivalent sina is 1/10 million of a millimeter. So electron microscopes create a highly magnified image of up to 1 million times now. The best that the best microscope that we are going to use if you are going to observe particles is this one, the scanning tunneling microscope, or STM. Okay, again, this is the scanning tunneling microscope, or STM. It allows scientists to view and scan the surface of very small particles like atoms. So it can magnify an image 10 million times. So ito yung mga ginagamit ng mga scientists to observe very small particles like what? Like atoms. Okay. So this STM creates a profile of the surface of an atom, and then a computer-generated model or contour map is produced. So, only a model of the surface of an atom is generated by a computer when a scanning tunneling microscope is used. So, the picture of atoms generated is unlike the picture we take with our cameras. Okay? So, take note with that ha, na magkaiba, no? Iba yung napoproduce ng scanning tunneling microscope, no, kaysa sa mga picture na we take with our cameras. So just look at this video. And, from the word scanning, no, scanning tunneling microscope. So only the model of the surface of an atom is generated by a computer when a scanning tunneling microscope is used. So ito yung makikita natin, guys. Ito yung mapoproduce ng STM. So kitang-kita natin yung surface ng atom. Okay? So next. When you mix sugar and water, and if you are going to taste it, no, the resulting solution is sweet. Why? Because sugar is still present, although that you cannot see the sugar anymore. Okay, so in our activity earlier, the volume of the mixture is less than the sum of the volumes of the unmixed sugar and water. So why is this so? The water is made up of tiny particles. Look at this one. So this is the water. So as I have said, water is made up of tiny particles, molecules with spaces between them. And this one is the sugar molecules. Sugar is also made up of molecules, but bigger than the molecules of water. So the water molecules could fit in the spaces between the sugar molecules or vice versa. So that is why, guys, no, sa activity natin kanina, no, as I taste the resulting solution. So although hindi na natin makikita yung sugar, pero malalasahan natin. It's because nandyan pa rin yung sugar. Okay? So take note that the sugar is made up of molecules bigger than the molecules of water. So meaning to say, yung water could be what? Could be fit in the spaces between the sugar molecules. Or yung mga sugar molecules, pwede din na mag-fit in din sila sa water molecules. Kumbaga, ang analogy dito is like insert lang, na. So, yun. Okay, next. Another thing no, or a good analogy to consider related to matter, na being composed of tiny particles, is the pointillist style of painting. Are you familiar with pointillism? This one. The images in a pointillist painting appear continuous. Yan. But if one looks closely, the images are actually made of small dots. Now, pointillism is a method of painting using dots to come up with various effects. So the dots are placed in singly in rows or in random. No? Pwedeng naka-row siya, or pwedeng yung mga dots are in random. And these dots can also be in groups, or they can be overlapping, and they can be either uniform or varied in size in the same painting. So guys, after this lesson, you are also going to have, no, or going to perform, no, a pointillist painting, no? Magkakaroon din kayo ng output na kagaya ng nasa picture. So, ano nga ba yon? Again, pointillism. Ano bang ginagamit doon? Pointillism is a method of painting using what? Using dots to come up with various effects. So, pwede na yung mga dots are naka-place in rows or naka-random. Okay. So, next. No, if you are going to look at, no, kung i-zoom out, zoom in natin yung picture, so makikita natin na the painting is made up of using by dots. Okay? So, in this image, okay, try to look at this, guys. In this image, this is Dolores F. Hernandez, the founding director of the Science Education Center. Now, ano nang tawag? Science Education Center, UP National Institute or University of the Philippines, National Institute for Science and Mathematics Education Development. No? So, this is Dolores F. Hernandez. It was done through pointillist painting. So, the image appears continuous. So, try to take a look at the picture in letter A. And take a look at the picture in letter B. So, this is in letter B, guys. Okay. So, letter B, this is the portion of the painting was zoomed up to show that the continuous image actually consists of what? Consists of dots. Na? The lightness and the darkness, take note with that dot, the lightness and the darkness of the pigments give volume to the image in order to show smoothness. So, similarly, matter which appears to be continuous like the image in letter A, na, made up of very small particles that cannot be seen with the unaided eye. So, kagaya nga ng sinabi natin kanina, that atoms are very small particles. So, ito nga yung best analogy ng atoms na tinatawag natin, guys. So, the pointillism. So, again, pointillism is a method of what? Is a method of painting na using dots. Okay? So, gets na. Okay, next. So, again, take note that matter is similarly assembled with atoms of different elements combining in various ways to give a tremendous variety of substances. Okay, So that's the end of our lesson for today. No, for our first topic in our quarter 3 week 1. So I hope that you learned something in this lesson, and we will continue to talk about particle of nature on our next discussion. So we will again perform another set of activities and experiments. Okay, so and of course, before we end, let me remind you of your answers. Don't forget to write it in our comment box. And kung hindi pa kayo naka-subscribe, no, pa-support naman sa channel ni Miss Cabs. Char. Okay, pa-support naman. Please do subscribe, na. Click niyo yung subscribe button. Okay, so thank you for your support and thank you for your listening. And that's all for today's discussion. So keep safe and God bless everyone. Bye bye.